If you came over to my house and looked at my bookshelf and asked me to recommend something, these are the books I would physically hand you to try. So let's call this video recommending you books from my bookshelf. My camera is at a funny angle firstly, but this is the best that I can do, so just bear with. But let's split this up into categories so we can make it more concise, because we all know I can yap. Our first category is going to be easy, quick, getting out of a slump, really fast paced. The next category is books that made me think and I think everybody should try. Third category is books that I won't shut up about. And the last category is books that weren't perfect, but I'd still recommend. I'm going to put timestamps so you can switch between them if you want to. Each category is going to have 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 books in it. We're going to try and keep it concise, like I said, but let's go ahead and jump straight in. First category, as I said, is easy, quick, fast-paced, getting out of a slump. And the first book on our list is Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. This was an absolute banger. It was so fast-paced, and if you immersive read this with the audiobook, it's a game changer. It's a game changer, and the experience is elite. This follows our main female character, Lucy Chase, who is accused of killing her best friend because the night her best friend was found murdered, she was covered in her best friend's blood walking down the street and remembered nothing. Absolutely couldn't recommend this enough. If you love a quick-paced thriller / suspense, you'll absolutely eat this up. Next, this is a bit of a controversial one. The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. I absolutely ate this up. It literally embodies female rage and just female relationships in general and how they can be really fleeting. Absolutely cannot recommend this enough. And I know a lot of people didn't love it, but I thought the premise was taboo, but just taboo enough to make it really interesting and captivating. This follows 5 writers as they go to a writing retreat, and things start happening and people start dropping like flies. And when you find out the plot twist, it is taboo, like I said, but honestly, worth the journey. Would recommend again, especially for getting out of a slump. Frozen Charlotte by Alex Bell. This is a weird one and I didn't think I was gonna like it, but this is a paranormal horror, but it's YA. So it's not too crazy, it's not too hectic. The plotline is quite chaotic and people just change constantly and you don't know what to believe. There is hauntings, there is ghosts, and it's absolutely bingeable. This follows Sophie, who's just lost her best friend, and she goes to the Isle of Skye to visit her cousins while her parents are out of town, and things start happening. There are crazy dolls. There, like I said, is a haunting. There's someone trying to pick each of them off, and when you find out the plot twist again, it is mind-blowing, but at the same time, you should have seen it coming. So this is so fun. I would 100% recommend again to get out of the slump. The Guilty Couple by C.L. Taylor. I recommend this book all the time, especially for people getting into thrillers. I love her domestic suspense. This is amazing. If you've ever seen the movie called Double Jeopardy back in the day, that's given away my age, this book reminds me so much of it. It follows a married couple who, during some incident, one of them ends up going to jail for trying or attempting to murder the other one. But when she gets out early for good behavior, things start happening and things start unfolding, and it is so fast paced. You won't want to put it down. Probably a one sitting type of book. Moving into the next category, these are books that I feel like everybody should try and also just made me think a little bit. 9 by Zach Hines. This book is written so well. The author is actually a screenwriter, so it plays out like a movie. It is amazing. It is dystopian as well. So if you like me and love Hunger Games, Divergent, all the dystopian nostalgia, you will absolutely eat this up. We follow a society where you can actually go through 9 lives, and every life that you shed, basically, you upgrade. So if you want to be more pretty or you want to have better teeth, you can upgrade, but you have to kind of off yourself or get offed in order to get this upgrade. So most people don't know when you get to your 9th life, it's the end. It's the end. And a lot of people are burning through their lives. They have these pacts where they kind of do these things and then they're reborn. There is so much more behind it and the science behind it that nobody knows. And it takes our main character to figure it all out. But does everyone believe him? It really does make you think. For this, I'm counting it as 2 books. This is The Record Keeper and The Seed of Cain. This is such an interesting read. It is also by a Black author called Agnes Gamillion. I read this and honestly, look at all the tabs in there, and it is mostly plot points because this was such an interesting world. It is again more dystopian. There's no magic in it, but it is a really fucked up world where after global warming, the world was segregated again and people from Africa were put into certain demographics and workforces, worked for the northern people. The way it is done was absolutely beautiful. I loved our main female character and her her rage and her wanting equality and the lengths that she would go through. And she was kind of a chosen one, and there was a prophecy about her, and the way she comes into herself, beautiful. Absolutely would recommend that you try these. This is a bit of an oddball, but this is The Darknet by Benjamin Percy, and this is kind of a religious, I don't know how to put it, but it's got religious undertone. It's described as a techno horror, but it has a lot of religious undertones with angels and demons, good and bad. It's a mishmash of things, but it's also kind of sci-fi, where people can get these prosthetic eyes in bunny ears, prosthetic eyes. It's like these goggles that you wear, so if you're blind, it transmits into your brain and you can see. When a 12-year-old girl, Hannah, gets them, she starts to see demons. But demons are entering the earth and possessing people and making them do absolutely horrible things. If you like Legion, this is definitely up your alley. There's also a former evangelistic priest, and he gets involved in all of this. It's really, really good. Like I said, if you like Legion, you would eat this up. I bang on about this book a lot as well. This is Followers. This covers a lot of what our society is like right now, which is followers. Everybody wants followers. Even myself sitting here making this video, I want followers. It follows two timelines, 2016 and then 2051. And in 2051, things have taken off. People are just, it's like the Truman Show. Everybody's broadcast 24/7 and you get paid, you get sponsorships, but it's only centered around like a few wealthy people. And then there are other towns where they don't have this. But when these two timelines somehow intercept, things are revealed. And it's so interesting. And I think this is an important book for everybody to read, especially if you're on social media. Lastly, this might seem random, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Absolutely love this book. This is one of the only Taylor Jenkins Reid books that I've rated 5 stars, but this did make me think, and it just makes you think about all the different lives that people live. You're none the wiser. It's like, just because someone is a celebrity doesn't mean that they don't go through hardships and have to deal with the same shit that everybody else does. So even though this was historical fiction, I think that it rings true, and the way she wrote this actually made her feel like a real person. Did make me think about how we perceive celebrities. Next category, books I won't shut up about. These I'm pretty sure you've heard non-stop on my channel because I absolutely ate these up, and I think everybody should read this. If you don't like these books, I don't know what's wrong with you. Just kidding. Reading is subjective. Firstly, Belladonna. This was the easiest 5-star I ever gave. The gothic vibes, the personification of death absolutely is incredible, and I cannot recommend it enough. This follows Signa, and she is an orphan and passed from family to family to family, and one day she gets placed with a family that actually takes her in for real and is not only after her money, but things start happening and she interacts with death, but she also cannot die. Guys, what are you doing? This is amazing. The love story in this, I don't even love romance, but this absolutely ate it up. Changing gears slightly, Every Move You Make by C.L. Taylor. I can't stop talking about this book. This book gave me the most visceral reaction I've ever had to a book, and it gave me the ick, made me feel sick to my stomach. This follows stalkers who have like a little support group. All of them have had their own experience in stalking. It also at the end of it talks about C.L. Taylor and her experience with stalking, and this book, it has the ability to give you the ick, honestly, but it is so important to read because stalking isn't always taken seriously, and if you watch any type of true crime, you'll know that women aren't taken seriously when they report stalking. So a little bit more serious, but honestly worth the read. I read this in one sitting. This is a book series, and I don't have the first book with me. Shatter Me series. Absolutely would recommend this for anyone. Again, if you are so in a slump, this is so easy to read and so easy to get through. I know a lot of people like the original trilogy. I thought it was all really, really well done, except the last book. Believe me, I wouldn't recommend that if I was to reread this again, but honestly, this is so fast paced. It is so good. It follows Juliet, who's been locked up for like 264 days in a mental asylum because her touch is lethal, and it just shows you a series of events that leads to all of that. It is also dystopian, so very, very nostalgic. However, the writing isn't anything like Oxford worthy, but it is so good. It is so addictive and so fast paced. Absolutely love the series. Everybody should read it. Another book series, Once Upon a Broken Heart book series. Oh my gosh. Why did I say that twice? This is absolutely amazing, absolutely whimsical. It is, I can't. I love her writing so much in this. Once Upon a Broken Heart was definitely my favorite. There's debate about it, and a lot of people like The Ballad of Never After, but that wasn't my absolute favorite. I definitely preferred the first book. It felt like watching the 2003 Jeremy Sumter Peter Pan, and it was just so whimsical. I would 100% recommend for an easy, fast time as well. If you're new to the fantasy genre as well, you'll eat this up. And the very last series, I don't even know why I'm still recommending it, because I don't see people recommend this anymore. The ACOTAR series. I didn't know what I was in for. I just saw everybody reading it and I was like, I don't know if I should. I don't know if it's worth the hype. It's worth the hype, and I cannot shut up about this. I fell in love with Sarah J. Maas's writing. I know some people have some polarizing opinions, and you're entitled to those. Absolutely love these. I love the characters. I fell in love with them. I felt so attached to them. I loved the world. Valaris is like where I belong. Honestly, do yourself a favor if you haven't already. Try it. The first book I know a lot of people didn't like, and the second book is where they really fell in love with the series. For me, again, the second and third book are my favorites. However, the first book was still a 5-star for me, and this whole series 5-star worthy. And our last category is books that weren't perfect, but I'd still recommend. Starting off strong, The Drift by CJ Tudor. Oh my gosh, this was such a fun read. It is more of a horror, but it is a fun horror, if that can even be said. This takes place in a post-apocalyptic world and follows 3 different groups of people. Bus full of students, a cable car full of strangers, and a chalet full of friends. And when people start dropping like flies, again, we need to figure out what the hell is going on. And this was so fun. So fun. And I was at the edge of my seat the whole time. The apocalyptic vibe is like kind of like COVID. So if you don't like COVID-based books, you won't love it, but it doesn't mention COVID at all. It just talks about a vaccine that kind of makes the world go, yeah. Next is a series, and I've only read these 2 books, and it is The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. These weren't perfect, like I said, but they definitely were fun and super fast paced. It is a YA fantasy / dystopian, and it is so much fun. It is like more of a retelling of Disney princesses. So the first one is Cinder, so Cinderella, and the second one is Scarlet for Little Red Riding Hood, but it's completely different and reimagined, but it is so much fun, and I would 100% recommend again. Songs in Ursa Major by Emma Brody. I can never say this title, but this was such a good book. It was my first lit fic that I actually really enjoyed. And this follows 2 different characters, a female and a male, and they are both in the music industry but treated vastly different. This takes place in like the 1970s, so she's having to do all the things to get taken seriously, where he has literally just taken everything for granted. The 2 of them kind of fall in love, but it doesn't end in a happy ending. This was so deep, and I connected to them on such a heavy level. Do check the trigger warnings, because there is some talk about mental health as well as drug addiction, but those are 2 things I absolutely love reading about. If you do like less of a plot driven book and more of a character study, you'll absolutely eat this up. And the very last series that I am going to recommend, but this isn't perfect, This Woven Kingdom. First time round, I didn't like the first book, but I read it again in order to read the next 2 books, and honestly, I fell in love with it. I think this is such a fun series, and again, Tahira Murphy is an amazing writer, I think. I feel like the slow burn is a little bit too slow, but yet I enjoyed every single second with this book. I love the dynamic between the 2 love interests. It isn't love at all at this point. They just bicker, and you can still feel there's a little bit of tension. It does start off as a love triangle as well, but I'm pretty sure that falls away pretty quickly. I can't wait to pick up the next book, and I think this is so much fun. I do prefer the latter 2 books. They do go on a journey / adventure. If you don't like books like that, you probably won't like this, but I love it. I find it so enthralling and fun. That is the last books in this category. If I had to only give you 1 rec in each category, these are my top picks. For a quick, easy, fast-paced book to get out of a slump, listen for The Lie by Amy Tantira. This will definitely get you out of any slump. For books that make you think, and I think everybody should read, Followers by Megan Angelo. I feel like this is such an important book for everybody to read. I think this should be required reading at schools, since everybody is an influencer. For books that I won't shut up about, I was thinking about this and I was like, I can't recommend this. No one recommends this anymore, and I can't help it. ACOTAR. Honestly, if you haven't read it, I can't recommend it enough. I would recommend it to anyone who wants to get into fantasy. This is amazing and I cannot recommend it enough. I was thinking about putting Belladonna here, but this whole series is good, and unfortunately the rest of the Belladonna series hasn't been my favorite, but I like every single book in the series. And in the last category is books that weren't perfect, but I'd still recommend. I'd recommend the Swerving Kingdom series. Tahira Mafi's just elite. I really love her writing and I like what she stands for. She hasn't been in any drama. Absolutely loved it, and it's YA. There's no spice in it whatsoever, so I think most fantasy readers will love this. It is Persian mythology, so you have to be in the mood for it, but I would recommend, and I can't wait to pick up the next book. With that being said, these are all the books that I would recommend to you if you came over to my house and asked me to recommend you books from my bookshelf. Let me know what you would recommend if you had the chance to recommend me something off your bookshelf, and I'll try and go pick that up. But I thought this was a fun way just to talk about all the books on my bookshelf. You'll see there's still some on there, so there are some categories. Maybe if you wanted romance, if you wanted a deep romance, if you wanted a fluffy romance, if you wanted a darker thriller, let me know if you'd like to see another one of these videos and what kind of categories you'd like to see. But thank you so much for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe. Also follow me on Instagram, Fable and Goodreads if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in my next one. Bye guys!